Another question that's getting a lot of attention is State Question 779. This one's also a constitutional change. Many know of this as the teacher pay raise, but it would raise a lot more money than's needed to provide the $5,000 pay raise for teachers that it proposes. Where's the rest of this money going?
That's right, and that is a great question. I've had a lot of people ask about this as well. It sets aside, well, the amount of money that it takes to raise the salaries for teachers, that's about 40% of the sales tax increase. So another 20% goes to school districts for potentially teacher pay. Could be used for teacher pay, could be used for, it specifies things like performance pay, teacher retention, teacher training. That gets us up to about 60%. There's another 10% that goes to school districts just based on the funding formula. So that gets us up around 70%. Then outside of that, it's other areas of state-run education. So you have higher education and career tech at about 22%. And then the remaining 8% would go to state-run programs for early childhood education.
So you've talked about before how the state questions would shift power among the branches of government. How would State Question 779 do this?
So State Question 779 is one where it's really important to remember this is a constitutional change. A lot of people think, well, we're talking about funding, we're talking about teacher salaries. It must, this must be just a regular state law. That's where you typically would define those sort of things. This goes in the state constitution, and it is designed to try to limit the way the legislature budgets for education, which is really fascinating and somewhat novel. I mean, you imagine, what if another group of state employees came and said, we want our salaries in the state constitution? It sets that kind of precedent. And it tries to make sure, using some of the state executive branch authority, that the legislature can't reduce other areas of education spending and sort of treat the sales tax hike money as being fungible, as replacing other revenue for education. And ultimately, any of those disputes would be settled by judges. So if the executive branch tries to exercise its authority and limit the legislature's ability to budget, and they disagree, then you'd have judges figuring out how all that would work. So it definitely shifts some power from the legislature to the executive branch and to the judiciary.